Welcome to another New Creature Review. Today we are checking out Transformers Studio Series number 1, Transformers Bumblebee. Let's check out this box. Just like every Studio Series box, we have the big product window. We have number 1 right here, Bumblebee. On this side we have a close-up of his face. Number 1. And on this side we have a full body shot. Autobot logo. And on the back, big screen inspired scale, detail, and backdrop. We have our product shots right here. And this is from the police chase. Bumblebee faces off with Decepticons to protect his human friends. What a great guy. There are 22 steps in this transformation. And you can also build the cast. Number 2, Stinger. Number 3, Crowbar. Number 4, Autobot Ratchet. And the backdrop is included. Let's go ahead and check out that backdrop. Alright, here's Bumblebee on his backdrop. Let's go ahead and take a look at this backdrop real quick. We've got a scene from the police chase. It's nice and dark with the blue overtones. You got your nice fog back there and your spotlights all over. Danger construction. Looks really good. And Bumblebee looks pretty awesome on it. Like I said before, I do like these backdrops when they're not low resolution and when they're not just recycled over and over again. These backdrops are really cool. They add a lot to your display, but I am probably not going to be keeping these. So let's check out Bumblebee himself. Let's get him up close. Alright. Let's check out these details. I really like this head sculpt. All those little crevices. You can see all the panels around his eyes, around his face. The molding on his helmet is nice. It's just there's no paint on it. There's no wash on it. So it's hard to see some of the details on there just at first glance. But I do like all of these details from the movies, the movie figures, on the movie figures, because there's so much going on in the Michael Bay Transformer figures. And that's what I like about the figures themselves. You see, you can see like functionality in these. Like you can imagine that's the main blaster. This is probably something that charges it up. Laser sights. You can see all of the little nooks and crannies, and then all the levers and pulleys. It looks like everything is supposed to do something. Gas cap. Ugh. And then you can see the front grille, how that's all built in. Kind of looks like pieces of an engine block over here. And then the panels from his alt mode body, his Camaro, I love that they're well integrated into this bot mode. And then you got this really complicated looking foot. It's a little hollow on one side, but it looks pretty good on the show side here. It's a little hollow in there. But again, because it's one of the Michael Bay Transformers, even though it does look hollow, it also kind of looks like it's hollow for a reason. So there's that added superfluous functionality. Alright, before we get into articulation, I wanted to show this off a little bit. The gun can be switched out with his arm and vice versa. But I made the mistake when I first opened this guy of using this port on the back as an action port for an action stand. So, you know, the Tamashii Nations. So I put that in there, and I did not know that it stretched out the port. So when I tried to store the arm in the back the way they show you with this peg, it just kept falling out. So what I did was I put a thin layer of super glue on there, on this peg, and then I sanded it down with 400, 800, and I believe 1200 grit sandpaper. So I just went in there and just kind of did this until it was nice and smooth. And you know, you get close, you can't even tell that I did that, but I built it up so that it would fit again, and it stores nicely. But I posed this guy with his blaster in, so unless I'm transforming him into his alt mode, I do not have him any other way. I always have him with his gun. And the only difference is that there's a wrist articulation where it folds in, but I'll show you that on this side. See? So let's go ahead and look at articulation. His head is on a ball joint, but per all the Michael Bay figures, because of his chin, something fell off. Yeah, I pushed it off that time. Because of his chin, he can't look down, but he can look up a little bit, but he can't look down. And he doesn't have any wiggle, but he can turn left and right. His shoulders are on ball joints. There's a ball joint in there, gives him a good full range of motion. You have to watch out because the shoulder pylons right here, they get caught on the side fenders of his body. So make sure you are watching out for that, or you will pop that thing off or break it. Be very careful. There is a swivel at the bottom, or at the top of the elbow, and it is attached to a hinge. On this side, as we saw before, there is a small peg. It is hexagonal, and it just pops in there into the arms too, or into the arm and the gun too. All right. And there is wrist articulation just this way for alt mode. He does have a waist swivel, and his legs are on ball joints. They are kind of loose, but he can do a full split. He can kick way back and way forward. His knee is on a single hinge. It can only bend that much. And his foot is on a kind of it is on a joint, or on a hinge from transformation. There is no ankle tilt, but he does stand all right, and he does pose well. Let's check out some of these panels here, because that is part of articulation. These fold in that far in this mode. This only goes about that far. They're kind of butting up against each other. So when you push it, if you go like this, they kind of flip together. And let's see. I don't know why you'd want to do this, but these will pop out, and the front of his shin guard can move in and out like that. And this piece of his fender, it can roll around. Keep them up like this though. This is the way it's supposed to be, but they can fan out a little bit. They can go back in. Yeah. And they can roll down. So if you just really don't like it, you can get it out of the way. All right. And despite what I said about tightening that up and thickening it up, it's still popping out. It's because I'm handling it. I'm putting my hand on there and it's popping it out. But when he's on the display shelf, it stays, and that's really what matters to me anyway, because it was not staying just sitting on the display shelf. I'd hear a little drop on my shelf, and I'll look, and that had fallen down. That's not cool. All right, let's do some quick size comparisons. Here he is with Scrooge McDuck. Here is Marvel Legends Ultimate Spider-Man. Here is Power of the Prime's Leader Class Rodimus Prime. Studio Series Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. Combiner Wars Shockwave. Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Onslaught. The Last Night Nitro Zeus. And The Last Night Bumblebee. And if you look closely, you'll notice that these two, at least at the base, look exactly the same. He's just a little bit smaller for the Studio Series scale. Let's take a look at that real quick. You see? All the base details look the same. The guns. The way their doors fold up. Their feet. Their backs. Everything just kind of folds in on itself, and you can see that here too. You can see these kind of do the same thing. This is not to say that they were lazy and cutting corners, but because this is actually a really good base mold for Bumblebee. I really appreciate how this transforms. There aren't too many of these Michael Bay Transformers that I enjoy transforming, but lately the Studio Series and the Last Night figures have been quite enjoyable. So let's go ahead and transform him real quick. Alright, here he is. And check him out. There's like a little divot right there where you're supposed to tab this in, and it doesn't do very well. I mean, okay, it'll stay. But I mean, even then, it looks kind of ridiculous. I mean, how many Camaros have you seen with a Bumblebee blaster arm on the back? I haven't seen any personally. But yeah, the details are really nice. I've said this before in my other reviews. I really like how these Studio Series Transformers shore up on their panels. They really look like a toy car. I mean, this could get away with being a toy car, except for I know it's a Transformer. And I mean, there are some telltale signs that there's a Transformer. You see like a bunch of stuff here. You can see his feet kind of jammed up in there. And I mean, look on the bottom. Ugh. But you know, it looks like a car. It doesn't look like a Transformer trying to be a car. It looks like a car. Well, now it looks like a car. And it rolls nice. That's getting... Yeah, I don't know why these are locking up for me now. They weren't locking up for me before. But it does roll. It's just not rolling really well on this platform. And all four wheels are touching. There's no wiggle. There's no three-wheeling. And let's pull out Scrooge McDuck for size comparison. He will not fit in there. And then I have this little Titan Master, Skytread. And he goes right there. I mean, I guess if the doors opened and he didn't have these feet in the way, I think we could fit in a Titan Master or a Prime Master in there. That would look pretty cool. And I bet we could get two of them in there too. That would look really good. But yeah, he is a great looking car. Alright, let me get this back into bot mode and we'll do final thoughts. Alright, we're back in bot mode. I really, really like this figure. He feels good. He looks good. I love all the little details that they put into this guy. And I sound like a broken record. I say that a lot about these Studio Series figures, but I do. I love all the little tiny details that they put into them because it looks functional. It looks like an alien trying to be a robot in disguise. And this is what his armor would look like. You know, and I know G1 fans they just hate that about this, that it's so different. It's so different from the original. But you know what? This is really cool that they bring this whole new concept to an entirely new generation of Transformers fans. They have a new look. They have new robots. They have new spins on old robots. This is great, you know? And I can appreciate that. I don't like Michael Bay's locker room jokes, his little potty jokes, you know, like when he pops his gas cap and spills, what did Optimus Prime call it? Lubricant on one of those Sector 6 agents. Why? You know? They could have done better. But, you know what? We got a whole new line of toys. And they look amazing. Now, this figure in particular, they fix a lot of the issues that came with this guy. I had to do a lot of work to get this guy to stay together. If you followed me on Instagram before I started my YouTube account, I actually did a fix-it video on this guy, because in the box, I actually got this guy after I got him, and this guy came out the year before. I found him at Ross, and he looked like a pile of pieces inside his box. And I had to reassemble this guy. It wasn't too bad, but it was bad enough to where I had to kind of do a buyer beware kind of thing. Now, I had to tighten up his joints. You could do that with Pledge floor polish. I had to tighten this up because, I mean, even now, this thing, his foot, I had to put a dab of super glue on the tab right here so it stays in, because this is really loose. Here, I'll show you again. Watch. It shouldn't be that loose. On him, you have to kind of work it out to get it to go into transformation mode. And his ankles, when they rock forward, I had to put some of that floor shine in there to tighten it up. And now he stands really well. Before, he wouldn't stand at all. He would just kind of whoop, you know. But check out our boy Studio Series Bumblebee right there. He's standing on his own, and I didn't have to do anything to that. Now, there are still some issues that carried over, particularly these doors. They kind of just pop off sometimes. And let me say, they're supposed to be able to do that. It even says in the instructions that some of these things are designed to pop off under certain pressure so it doesn't break. So you can just tap it back in and it's fine, guys. You know, you don't have to worry about that too much. But it does come off as a nuisance. So you gotta be wary of that. But I will say that some of the issues that I had with this guy didn't even crop up until after I heard about them. This panel right here on our the Last Night Bumblebee, there's actually a metal pin that goes through there, and you can see if you hold it at a certain angle, you can see that there's a hole there for a pin, but they didn't pin it in. So this piece actually it just comes right off. And I saw this problem on a post like last week, and I was like, that never happened to me. And wouldn't you know it, I try to transform this guy and pop, it just comes right off. And I'm like, oh man, that's what I get for reading these problems. Monkey see, monkey do, I guess. But yeah, that is one of the issues. And that doesn't really crop up until you're getting into transformation, because you see it just folds up right in there and it doesn't do anything and it doesn't go anywhere. So if you're like me and you don't really put these guys in alt mode very often, you should be fine. I mean, this is a really nice piece to sit on your display. It's a nice piece to play with and pose. You can play with it with your kids. Although I do have my reservations playing with these Studio Series with kids, because they have a lot of small pieces that move and untab and fall off. So be wary of that. Otherwise, I really appreciate this figure, and I'm very glad to have him in my collection. All right, that's it for my review. Tell me what you think of this guy in the comments below. I think he is awesome. I love him even with the quirks, even with the little bits and pieces that come off of him once in a while. It hasn't happened to me enough for me to say, okay, it's time for him to go in the trash. You know, he is a great figure. He looks awesome. He looks like he jumped right off the screen. And that's my opinion. But what's your opinion on this guy? What's your opinion on the Studio Series in general? They've been doing really good. They've been cranking out all these figures with all these really high details from the movies. And but I mean, how do they rank up to you? You know, how do they fare with the rest of your collection? All right, I'm gonna have more pictures of this guy on my Instagram, so check out the link in my description below, as well as my Facebook page. If you liked this review, give me a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and hit the little notification bell so you know when I have more videos up. All right, thanks for watching.